Today's recap brings you 3 unforgettable tales of power, friendship, and the magic that lives within us all. Let's dive in. First, How to Train Your Dragon live action. Imagine living on an island where dragons attack every night. They burn your homes, steal your animals, and there's no escape. You either fight or you lose everything. This is Berk, a small, isolated island, and its only curse is dragons. But the people of Berk are Vikings, warriors who never run. Every child grows up learning how to fight dragons. Every child, except one. Hiccup, the son of the mighty chief Stoic. A man so strong, they say he killed 2 dragons with his bare hands. But Hiccup? He's nothing like his father. He's weak, clumsy, and terrified of fighting. Instead, he spends his time building strange inventions, dreaming of proving himself one day. And then, one night, the dragons strike harder than ever. Fire spreads. Homes collapse. Warriors rush to fight back. Hiccup wants to join, but Stoic shouts at him to stay inside. Still, Hiccup can't stand aside. He runs to Gobber, his mentor, begging to try his new invention, a weapon he swears can catch a dragon. But Gobber refuses. He knows the boy isn't ready. Out on the battlefield, Astrid and the other young fighters rush bravely into the flames, putting out fires, standing tall against the dragons. Hiccup watches her, fearless, strong, and he feels smaller than ever. They laugh at him, call him weak, not a true Viking. So, Hiccup makes a decision. He'll prove them all wrong. He'll use his invention to catch a dragon. Maybe even the most dangerous dragon of all, the Night Fury. A dragon so powerful, no Viking has ever survived an encounter with it. And Hiccup, he's about to do the impossible. And in that moment, Hiccup makes his choice. He takes his invention, determined to hunt the Night Fury. If he catches it, he'll earn respect. He'll finally prove he belongs. He fires into the sky, shot after shot, until at last he hits something. A dragon. Hiccup can't believe it. He's overjoyed. But his victory is cut short. Another dragon swoops down, fierce and deadly. It charges at him. Hiccup runs, desperate. And just as it's about to strike, Stoic appears. The chief saves his son. Hiccup tries to explain. He caught a dragon. But Stoic doesn't believe him. Frustration builds. Hiccup shouts, "You don't want anything from me except to be a warrior, and I don't want to be one." Stoic's face hardens. His voice thunders before everyone. "You'll never be a warrior." The words cut deep. The crowd whispers, their eyes full of pity. Hiccup feels smaller than ever. He goes to Gobber, hurt and desperate. "I did catch a dragon," he insists. "But my father, he always makes me feel like a failure." Gobber sighs. "The problem is you've never proved yourself. That's why no one believes you." Hiccup lowers his eyes. "I just want to be like you." Gobber feels for him, but walks away, leaving Hiccup alone. So Hiccup slips into the forest. Meanwhile, Stoic gathers his warriors. He reminds them of their Viking glory, their ancestors, their duty. He tells them they're close to the dragon's nest. If they destroy it, the threat will end forever. The men hesitate, but Stoic fires them up, reigniting their pride. They roar with him, ready to fight. Stoic turns to Gothy, the village seer. "Can we reach the nest before winter?" She nods. That's enough for Stoic. He orders the armies to prepare. Before leaving, he assigns Gobber a task. Train the teens, test them, forge them into dragon slayers. Gobber agrees, but when Stoic refuses to include Hiccup, saying there's no hope for him, Gobber argues. This time feels different. The boy wants to prove himself. Stoic hesitates, and finally, he gives in. And while the warriors prepare, Hiccup heads into the forest. He's searching for the dragon he shot. At last, he finds it. The mighty Night Fury, lying on the ground, wounded. Fear takes hold of him, but he forces himself closer, pulls out a knife, ready to finish it. Only he can't. He looks into its eyes, and something stops him. Instead of killing it, he cuts the ropes and sets it free. The dragon rises, powerful even in pain. Hiccup stumbles back, terrified, but the creature doesn't harm him. It just turns and disappears into the trees. Shaken, Hiccup returns home. Stoic is waiting. This time, there's no discussion. You'll join Gobber's training, his father orders. He presses a heavy hammer into Hiccup's hands. Use it. Learn to fight. Hiccup protests. Why don't you listen? I'm not a fighter. I'm not like you. But Stoic won't hear it. The trials of fire will make you strong. Train hard. And with that, he leaves. The next morning, the arena fills with young Vikings. The trials begin, and Hiccup is forced to join them. The others mock him. He's only here because his father is chief, they sneer. Everyone knows he's a coward. But Gobber silences them. Enough! Get ready. Today, you face dragons, real ones. Each of you will prove who's the best hunter. The gates open. A dragon bursts out, fierce and raging. The teens rush to attack, everyone except Hiccup. He freezes. His hands shake. The dragon lunges straight for him, and Gobber leaps in, forcing it back into its cage. He kneels beside Hiccup, steadying him. You've got to focus, lad. Next time, you'll know what to do. Later that day, Hiccup slips back into the forest. He finds the Night Fury again, wounded wing, struggling to fly. Hiccup studies him, sketching every detail, every line, every movement, trying to understand this dragon, not as an enemy, but as something more. That night, back on the island, Gobber gathers the teens inside the hall. He wants them to learn from their mistakes. Hiccup joins the group. Gobber pulls out the greatest book in Berk, a heavy volume about dragons. Every type, every strength, every weakness. Read it, he tells them. Know your enemy. But the teens roll their eyes. One by one, they walk away. All except Astrid and Hiccup. Hiccup turns to her. Maybe dragons aren't as bad as we think. She stares at him, shocked. Are you insane? Our duty is clear. We destroy them before they destroy us. But Hiccup shakes his head. What if it's our fault? We take their land. We leave them no food. Maybe that's why they attack. Astrid's eyes narrow. You've never lived like us. You're the chief's son. You've had everything. That's why you're weak. Me, I fought for every step. I became a warrior. And one day, I'll take your father's place. Hiccup looks at her, gentle. You deserve it. And for what it's worth, my father likes you. He probably wishes you were his child, not me. Her face softens, confused by his words. Then she turns and walks away. Hiccup stays behind, flipping through the book, searching for answers. until he finds the page on the Night Fury. It's empty. No details. Only one warning. Do not engage. Meanwhile, far across the sea, Stoic leads a great fleet hunting for the dragon's nest. Through misty mountains they sail, but a swarm of dragons descends, crushing ship after ship. The battle rages, and the Vikings are forced to retreat. Back on Berk, the next morning, another trial begins. The teens face fire once again. They charge forward with courage. But Hiccup hides, helpless. A dragon corners him, its jaws open wide, and Astrid leaps in, driving it back. She locks it into the cage. The crowd cheers. She's the strongest fighter of the day. She turns to the others, her voice sharp. Take this seriously. Our people are at war. One day, we'll be the ones standing in front of the dragons. From the sidelines, Gothi watches silently, studying then, trying to see who will become the greatest hunter of all. And later that day, Hiccup slips into the forest. In his hands, a fish, a peace offering. He lays it down, then throws his knife aside. No weapons, no threats. The dragon snatches the fish, swallows it whole. Then, surprising him, spits back half. A gift, a sign of trust. Slowly, carefully, Hiccup reaches out. His hand trembles, then touches warm, black scales. The dragon doesn't attack. It closes its eyes. In that moment, a bond begins. They play, they learn from each other, and Hiccup gives him a name, Toothless. That night, Hiccup doesn't sleep. He works by firelight, building something new, a tail fin to replace the one Toothless lost. The next morning, he returns, food in one hand, the new tail in the other. He straps it in place, climbs onto Toothless's back, and together they fly. Higher, farther, faster. The boy and the dragon, friends at last. From then on, their bond only grows. Toothless teaches him the ways of dragons, and Hiccup learns how to train them. So when the next fire trial begins, the others fight with force. But Hiccup does something different. He calms the beast. He reads its movements. And for the first time, he saves his friends. The dragon obeys him, and the crowd stares, stunned. Gothi watches closely, quietly marking Hiccup's rise, his chance to become Book's greatest hunter. But Hiccup's secret work isn't done. Back at home, he builds more. A saddle for Toothless, a way to ride without falling. And when he mounts again, they soar across the skies, through clouds, over seas, discovering hidden places and the true power of dragons. Every night they train. Every day, Hiccup returns stronger. At the trials, he no longer hides. He outshines the others, not with blades, but with understanding. The other teens grow jealous, then curious. How does he do it? What's his secret? But Astrid doesn't buy it. She watches him closely, determined to uncover the truth. Meanwhile, Stoic returns from his failed campaign. They never found the dragon's nest. Tired, frustrated, he meets Gobber, who tells him something shocking. Hiccup, the boy who could never fight, is suddenly the one everyone admires. The one who can face dragons with ease. Stoic can't believe it. But while he wrestles with doubt, far away, Toothless carries Hiccup across the skies, over mountains, through clouds, across the sea. Hiccup nearly slips, falling into the endless air. But Toothless dives, catches him, and saves his rider. From then on, their flight becomes one. Hiccup can guide his every turn, every dive, every climb. Together, they're unstoppable. That night, Stoic finds his son at home. He looks at him, different, stronger, alive. Pride swells in his voice. He places a helmet in Hiccup's hands. "It was your mother's," Stoic says. "She always hoped to see the day you became a true warrior." Hiccup can't answer. He wants to tell his father the truth, that his strength comes not from killing, but from Toothless. But the words won't come, so he nods and says only that he needs rest for tomorrow's trials. The next day arrives, the fire test, the day that will decide the best dragon hunter. The arena fills. Stoic watches proudly, waiting for his son to shine. Astrid steels herself, determined to win at any cost. Before they enter, she whispers to Hiccup, "Today, I'll be the one to win." But Hiccup just answers softly, "You deserve it. You're brave. You've earned it." The test begins. A dragon roars. And once again, Hiccup does the impossible. He calms it, controls it, bends it to his will without a single strike. The crowd erupts. Stoic turns to Guthie, the village seer. Who is the best warrior? Her answer is clear. Hiccup. The arena falls silent. Gobber stares in disbelief. To him, a true hunter must kill, and Hiccup never has. But Guthie doesn't waver. Her choice is final. The crowd cheers, but Astrid feels only anger. To her, the title should be hers, not the boy known for weakness. Suspicion grows in her heart. She decides to follow Hiccup and uncover the truth behind his sudden power. And later that night, Hiccup sneaks back to Toothless. But he isn't alone. Astrid steps out from the shadows. Her eyes are sharp, demanding. She wants the truth, the secret behind his sudden strength. Hiccup stumbles for words. Then, Toothless appears. Astrid gasps, reaching for her axe, but Hiccup throws himself between them. "Toothless, stop! She's a friend!" The dragon growls, ready to strike. But Hiccup's voice calms him. Slowly, the beast lowers his head. "This is a night fury," Hiccup whispers. Astrid freezes. Impossible! No one survives an attack from such a creature. And yet here it stands, tamed. Fear takes over. She runs. Hiccup leaps onto Toothless, chasing her through the forest. They soar into the night sky until they land on a high cliff. "Please," he says, breathless, "give me a chance to show you." Reluctantly, Astrid agrees. She climbs onto Toothless's back, terrified, clinging tight, but Hiccup steadies her. "Trust me." The dragon launches. Wings slice the air. They dive, twist, spin through clouds. Hiccup shows her everything. Control, trust, freedom. Slowly, Astrid's fear fades. Wonder fills her eyes. For the first time, she sees dragons not as monsters, but as something more. Still, her voice is firm. "This changes nothing. Tomorrow, I still have to kill." But Hiccup shakes his head. "No, we don't have to fight them. We can train them, live with them." She snaps back. "After all they've done? After everything they've taken from us?" Hiccup's voice breaks. "They took my mother too. But how long will we keep killing each other?" Astrid falls silent, her heart torn. She doesn't know what to say. And then Toothless changes course. He carries them over a hidden valley where hundreds of dragons swarm in the shadows. They land, and what they see chills them both. An enormous beast, the true alpha, forcing the others to steal from humans or be devoured themselves. Astrid whispers, "We have to tell your father." But Hiccup shakes his head. "Not yet. Let me prove it first. Tomorrow, in the arena." She hesitates, then nods. "I'll be watching you, Hiccup." The next morning, the final trial. Today, Hiccup must face a dragon and kill it in front of everyone. The arena is packed. Crowds cheer, and Stoic sits proudly among them. For the first time, he looks at his son with pride. But Hiccup feels torn. His father's words echo in his head, and Astrid, standing close, whispers reassurance. "You can do this." The gates creak open. A fire-breathing dragon storms out, spitting flames across the arena. The crowd roars with excitement. Stoic waits. He wants to see his son deliver the killing blow. But Hiccup doesn't raise his weapon. Instead, he reaches out, calm, steady, trying to tame the beast. "Listen to me. We don't have to kill them. We can train them, trust them." The audience gasps. Stoic leaps to his feet, furious. "Enough! Stop this nonsense!" Hiccup begs, "Please, father, just listen." But Stoic's voice is hard. "You're no Viking. You're no son of mine." The dragon senses the anger. It panics. Snarling, it lashes out, flames bursting everywhere. Astrid jumps in, trying to distract it. But the beast charges straight for Hiccup. And then a shadow descends. Toothless. He crashes into the arena, protecting Hiccup with a deafening roar. The two dragons clash, fire against fury, shaking the ground. The crowd screams in terror as Toothless forces the beast back into its cage. But the victory doesn't last. The warriors flood the arena, weapons raised, not at the fire dragon, but at Toothless. Stoic storms down, ignoring Astrid's desperate pleas. He orders the men forward. Ropes fly. They bind Toothless, pulling him to the ground. The dragon thrashes, but he won't fight back, not with Hiccup beside him. Hiccup shouts, voice breaking, "Stop! Don't hurt him!" But Stoic's face is stone. "Enough! Get out of here, Hiccup! You've shamed us all!" And as the ropes tighten around Toothless, Hiccup is dragged away, helpless. And when they return home, Stoic doesn't stop shouting. But Hiccup tries, again, to explain. He tells his father what he saw inside the dragon's nest. Stoic demands the location. Hiccup admits it was Toothless who led him there. That's it. Stoic's pride turns to anger. "You failed me. You'll never be one of us." He pushes Hiccup aside and orders the warriors to prepare the ships. They're going to the nest, and they're taking Toothless with them. Hiccup is left broken. Until Astrid steps in. She tells him he's not weak. He's the first Viking to ride a dragon, to tame one. He just needs to believe it. For a moment, Hiccup hesitates. Then he realizes what he must do. He gathers the other young fighters and shares his plan. "Don't fear them. Dragons only fight when they feel threatened. Show them safety, and they'll trust you." One by one, he pairs each of them with a dragon. Together they set off to catch up with Stoic and the warriors. Meanwhile, Stoic's fleet approaches the nest. But something feels wrong. The dragons don't attack. They scatter, fleeing in every direction. And then it appears. A colossal dragon, rising from the mountain, smashing everything in its path, burning ships to ash. No weapon can stop it. At the same time, Hiccup and the teens soar in on their dragons. "Listen to them," Hiccup shouts. "They'll follow you if you show them you're not a threat." The warriors reach the dragon's nest, but instead of victory, they find fire everywhere. A massive dragon rises, tearing through ships, crushing everything in sight. The fighters scatter, each attacked from a different side. In the chaos, Hiccup rushes to free Toothless, but he fails, and both of them fall into the sea. Stoic dives in. He saves his son, then frees Toothless. For the first time, Stoic sees the truth. Hiccup climbs onto Toothless. Together, they rise into the sky. The others follow, striking the beast from every angle. One lands a hit on its eye. Astrid smashes its teeth, but the monster nearly crushes her. Hiccup and Toothless dive in, saving her just in time. Then Hiccup spots it. The weak point, the wings. He lures the dragon away and attacks again and again until the wings shatter. The monster crashes down, but before it dies, it slams them from the sky. They fall. Stoic runs, crying out for his son. Astrid is in tears too. Then, to everyone's shock, Toothless spreads his wings. He had shielded Hiccup. Cheers erupt. Stoic kneels, pride in his eyes. For the first time, he calls his son a true Viking. Days later, Hiccup wakes up. He's in his room. Toothless waits beside him. He tries to stand, then realizes his left leg is gone. But Gobber has built him a new one, and even a new saddle for Toothless. When Hiccup steps outside, the island is transformed. Dragons fly side by side with Vikings. The war is over, and Berk has changed. Forever. Hiccup climbs onto Toothless. They soar over the island, together at last. And that is how Hiccup became a hero. Second, Superman. Legends say Superman is unbreakable. But in the cold silence of the South Pole, even legends can bleed. The film opens with Superman falling from the sky. His body is broken after a brutal battle. He had tried to stop the army of Barovia from invading a smaller nation called Chiranbur. But now he lies helpless in the snow, his strength nearly gone. Barely able to move, he whistles. A white dog rushes toward him, Crypto, his loyal companion. Superman whispers for him to take him home. Crypto pulls him across the ice toward a hidden entrance beneath the ground. The Fortress of Solitude, a place that only opens for Superman. The doors part and they step inside. At once, robotic guardians rush to him, lifting his wounded body and carrying him deeper into the fortress. As they work, a hologram begins to play. It's his real parents from Krypton. They speak with love, telling him how much he means to them. How they sent him to Earth to save him from the same fate that destroyed their world. How he is their only hope. But suddenly, the message cuts off. The rest of it lost forever on its journey through space. The robots continue their scan. His body is shattered. 14 bones broken. Countless injuries. They place him under direct sunlight, the only power that can heal him. Slowly, his strength returns. Superman rises again, but not fully. The robots warn he's only 80% healed. They beg him to rest, but he shakes his head. The world doesn't have time to wait. With fire in his eyes, he takes off, flying back toward the battle. Meanwhile, somewhere else, we see a figure watching the skies. A shapeshifter named Angela. She's been searching for him, unable to track him down. Until now. Superman streaks past her, soaring back into the fight. Angela's eyes widen. She reports to her commander. He's alive, and he's heading back to war. And then we see a strange creature tearing through the city. Its name is Hammer Prophia, the same being who once faced Superman and somehow defeated him. Right after, we shift to a man named Luthor. His hatred for Superman runs deep, and now we learn the truth. Hammer wasn't born by chance. Luthor created him, designed for one purpose only, to destroy Superman. At that moment, Superman returns. He throws himself into a new battle against Hammer. But in the chaos, something becomes clear. Luthor is controlling Hammer, feeding him codes to trigger precise, deadly attacks. Every move, every strike, all calculated in advance. Hammer overpowers Superman. He hurls him down with crushing force, slamming him into the earth. And then we discover how Luthor pulled this off. For years, he studied every detail of Superman's fighting style, until he built Hammer, programmed to predict and counter every move with ease. Meanwhile, Superman lies broken on the ground. A man from the crowd steps forward, trying to help. He tells him, "You've saved us so many times before. Now, it's our turn to save you." But when Superman struggles to stand, his body won't respond. The people gather, their hearts heavy, their sympathy pouring out for their fallen hero. At that same time, Luthor learns the name of the man who dared to help Superman, Malik. And then Angela reaches out, revealing that she has found the location of the Fortress of Solitude. But the moment she gets close, the entire fortress vanishes, swallowed beneath the earth. Luthor's voice cuts in, ordering her to return to him immediately. The next day, we see Clark, Superman, on his way to work. By day, he's just a reporter. As he enters the building, a policeman reads a newspaper aloud, an article about Hammer and the destruction he left behind. And then we realize the article was written by Clark himself, right after his fight with the creature. Inside, Clark gets a call from his adoptive parents. They congratulate him. His article has gone viral, making headlines everywhere. Not long after, Lois shows up. She starts asking about Hammer, about the chaos still shaking the city. Then their friend Jimmy joins them, explaining the damage costs have already passed 20 million. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Luthor gathers some of the most powerful people in the country. He showcases his army, super soldiers like Hammer, Angela, and squads of deadly robots called the Raptors. He pushes them to invest, twisting Superman's image, claiming he's the real danger to the planet. But they resist. They remind him that Superman has saved them countless times before, and that people still love him. Still, Luthor doesn't back down. In his eyes, Superman is the true threat. Later that night, Lois returns home, only to find Clark waiting for her. They sit down. Speaking more about Hammer and the destruction he caused, Clark asks her to do an exclusive interview with him. He wants his own voice recorded, broadcast directly to the people. She agrees. The questions begin. Lois presses him about the wave of media attacks, pointing out that even the U.S. Secretary of Defense has opened an investigation into Barovia. Clark explains. During Barovia's invasion of Churinpur, he stepped in. He stopped the war without bloodshed. He even confronted Barovia's president face to face, warning him if he tried another invasion, Superman would take him and his entire army down. But Clark admits something else. He senses Barovia is planning something darker. Then Lois asks the question no one dares. Did you get permission before flying into their airspace? Clark shakes his head. No, he went on his own because lives were in danger. But that decision left people questioning him. They whisper, "He's not human, not one of them." Frustrated, Clark snaps. He tells her he doesn't care what anyone thinks. The only thing that matters is saving lives. After a long pause, his voice softens. He tells her the truth, how his parents sent him to Earth as a baby, moments before his world was destroyed. How his mission has always been to serve humanity, to make Earth better, to fulfill the purpose his real family gave him. But Lois pushes back. She says many still believe he's here for another reason, that his real plan is to conquer Earth. Her words cut deep. Clark loses his temper, ending the interview. Lois, hurt and angry, tells him if he keeps shutting her out, she can't stay in this relationship. And Clark, devastated, walks away. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Luthor and his team reach the South Pole. Their target? The Fortress of Solitude. They want proof. Anything that can destroy Superman's image before the world. And strangely, as Luthor approaches, the massive doors open on their own. No resistance, no warning. They storm inside, wiping out everyone in their way with terrifying ease. But then, Krypto appears. The loyal dog attacks Angela, forcing her back. Yet she fights with precision, covering his face with a strange substance from her own body, trapping him. With Krypto down, Luthor gives the order. Angela connects to the Kryptonian device that holds Superman's family message. Her body releases that same substance, merging with the system, breaking its defenses. And suddenly, the long-hidden message plays. A message Superman's parents sent with him from a dying world. The recording is damaged, but Angela works quickly, repairing it piece by piece. Moments later, the full message is restored, now in Luthor's hands. We cut back to the city. Luthor's men carry a sealed box. Inside, a strange creature. Luthor commands them to unleash it in the streets, a distraction to keep Superman occupied while he raids the fortress. They obey. And by the next morning, the creature has grown massive. It tears through the city, fire erupting from its mouth, crushing everything in its path. Superman arrives just in time, saving Krypto before the beast strikes him down. He launches a fierce attack, striking with all his might. But the monster is stronger, much stronger. Its fire spreads, buildings collapse, and people run in terror. Superman pushes harder, but every blow feels useless. Still, he fights to protect as many lives as he can, and then help arrives. Out of the chaos, 3 heroes appear: Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, and Mr. Terrific. The Justice League. They join the battle. Green Lantern forges an unbreakable ring of light, trapping the beast. Hawkgirl dives in, striking hard, forcing it back. Superman focuses on saving civilians, pulling them from the flames. And Mr. Terrific plants bombs inside the creature's body, detonating them from within. The explosion shakes the city. The beast collapses. And after a brutal fight, the Justice League stands victorious. And then, screens everywhere flicker. Breaking news. Superman, Luthor appears live, smiling coldly, broadcasting what he claims is the full message from Superman's parents. The second part reveals a chilling truth. Humans are weak, foolish, and Superman was sent here not to protect them, but to rule them. The world is shaken. Crowds erupt. Their hero suddenly feels like a stranger, maybe even a threat. And when Superman walks inside, stunned, Green Lantern and the team corner him. Is it true? He nods slowly. The first part, yes, but I never heard the rest. The recording was corrupted. But Mr. Terrific cuts in. The experts confirmed it. The message is real. It can't be faked. Superman's eyes blaze with shock. How did Luthor even get it? He doesn't wait for an answer. He bolts, faster than sound, straight to the Fortress of Solitude. But it's in ruins. Shattered ice, broken walls, and one robot still barely functioning. Superman demands answers. How did Luthor get inside? But the machine only shakes its head. It tried to defend the fortress and failed. Then Superman notices Krypto is gone. He storms into Luthor's headquarters. Where is he? Where's Krypto? Luthor smirks, playing innocent. I don't know what you're talking about. Superman leaves furious. But elsewhere, world leaders are gathering, arguing if Superman has become the planet's greatest danger. The president of Barovia even steps on live TV, claiming Superman invaded his country, tried to manipulate their war for hidden reasons. And when he returns to his office, he opens a secret passage leading straight to Luthor. At first, the president accuses him of forging the message, but Luthor leans closer, eyes cold. It's real. Superman is no savior. He's a criminal, and we have to destroy him, whatever it takes. And after that, we see Superman at Lois's place. Superman takes a deep breath. The message they showed. It's not true. I only ever heard the first part. My parents never sent me here to rule this world. They sent me to protect it, to protect its people. Lois steps closer, her voice firm. I believe you, and you can prove it. Show them who you really are. But he shakes his head. No, the only way to save Krypto is to surrender. I promised I'd protect him. I won't break that promise. The next day, Superman gives himself up. Luthor's soldiers take him to a secret desert base, where a time gate opens, pulling them into a parallel universe. There, Luthor greets him with a cruel smile. This prison, I built it myself. And you're not alone. Meet Rex. A creature steps forward, its body shifting like liquid. Luthor orders him to transform his arm into solid kryptonite. Rex hesitates, but Luthor has his son locked away and threatens to kill him. Rex obeys. Superman collapses as the green glow drains his strength. In the same cell, he sees Krypto, caged and weak. And not just Krypto, dozens of others, prisoners of Luthor. Meanwhile, back on Earth, news breaks. Barovia has invaded Chornobor. Just one day after Superman's capture, Lois digs deeper into Luthor Corp. She discovers shipments of weapons to Barovia, sold at impossibly low prices. Something isn't right. At the same time, Jimmy meets Eve, Luthor's lover. Infatuated with Jimmy, she spills everything she knows. That's when Jimmy learns the truth. Superman is trapped in a parallel world, a prison designed by Luthor himself. Jimmy rushes to Lois with the news, and back to Superman. He leans closer to Max, his voice calm but urgent. "If you move that kryptonite, I can save your son. We can all escape." But Max shakes his head, eyes burning with mistrust. "Stop talking to me! I don't believe you." The next day, Luther arrives at the prison alongside the president of Barovia. With them is Malik, the warrior who once tried to help Superman against Hammer. Now Luther twists the knife. He threatens Superman, answer every question, or watch Malik die. Superman stays silent, and Luther pulls the trigger. Malik falls dead before their eyes. Max breaks. Superman too. Both of them cry in rage and grief. Meanwhile, Lois reaches the Justice League. She pleads for help, insisting Clark isn't a criminal, that everything Luther said is a lie. But Green Lantern doesn't believe her. Hawkgirl turns away too. Defeated, Lois leaves, her hope slipping. That's when Mr. Terrific steps forward. "I believe you, and I'll help." They board his craft and head straight for Luther's military base. Terrific uses a tracking chip to lock onto Superman's location. But armed soldiers stand guard, warning them to turn back or die. Terrific ignores them. The soldiers attack. In an instant, his shield snaps up around Lois. Energy flares as he cuts through the troops with terrifying ease. Lois stares, stunned by his power. At last, they reach the temporal gate. Terrific studies its strange glow, his face tense. "This place is dangerous. We shouldn't enter." But Lois refuses to step back. "No, we're going in." Terrific takes a breath, ready to push deeper into the unknown. And we're back to Max. He looks Superman straight in the eye. "Can you really save my son?" Clark nods firmly. "Yes." That's all Max needs. He hides the kryptonite and channels the power of the sun. The energy surges back into Superman's body, strength flooding his veins. In a flash, he lifts off, breaks free, and rescues Max's boy. But there's no time to rest. Clark smashes Krypton's bindings and searches for a way out of the prison. Suddenly, Luther's soldiers storm in. Gunfire, chaos. Superman, Max, and the child are driven into a raging river. Clark fights to keep the boy safe, even as the current drags him toward a black hole tearing open in the water. Max cuts down the soldiers and dives for his son, just as Superman is about to be crushed by the void. With one last burst of breath, Clark unleashes a gale from his lungs, pushing them free. Together, they escape the abyss. At that same moment, Mr. Terrific and Lois break into the prison. They reach Superman at the final second, pulling him out before the collapsing gate destroys everything. But Clark's body is poisoned. Kryptonite burns in his blood. Terrific warns him, "You need rest, or it'll kill you." He hands Lois his ship. "Taken somewhere safe, I'll hold the base." Max and his son slip away into the night. Lois carries Superman home, to the farm of his adoptive parents. They embrace him, relieved he's still alive. Meanwhile, Jimmy gets a call from Eve. She claims she has everything on Luther and sends him the files. But when Jimmy opens them, they're only photos. Strange photos of Eve herself. Confused, he forwards them to Lois, and Lois realizes the truth. They're not simple pictures. They're blueprints. Every one of Luther's plans, captured in secret. Now she knows everything. She confronts Luther. He already knows Superman escaped. His fury boils. He rushes to repair the shattered portal and succeeds. Terrific tries to stop him, but fails. The ground trembles. A massive crack splits the earth. The gate expands outward, ripping reality apart. The next morning, Superman wakes up, looking stronger. He steps outside. sits with his adoptive father, but his eyes carry a heavy sadness, the message from his real parents still echoing in his mind. They sent him here, not to protect Earth, but to conquer it. The truth cuts deep. His father places a hand on his shoulder. You're not guilty of their choices. Parents don't decide who we are. They only guide us. You shape your own path. And I'm proud of you, Clark. You're a good man. Superman takes a breath. The weight on his chest eases. Then his mother rushes out. Clark, come quickly! The news! The screen shows chaos. War between Barovia and Choranpur. And in the middle of the smoke, a child raises Superman's symbol, shouting his name. Crowds join him, voices rising in desperate hope. The world is watching, even the Justice League. At the same time, Mr. Terrific reaches Clark. There's a massive crack in the earth. If it spreads, it'll destroy everything. I need you. Meanwhile, Lois and Jimmy are with their editor. They reveal Luthor's secret deal with Barovia's president, fueling war only to distract Superman. The files from Eve confirm it all. Detailed blueprints exposing every part of Luthor's plan. Finally, proof to bring him down. But Terrific is struggling. The crack keeps expanding, faster and faster. Buildings collapse, the streets drown in chaos. Police rush to evacuate citizens, but the ground won't stop splitting. A skyscraper leans, seconds from crushing a bridge packed with people. Screams fill the air, until a shadow streaks across the sky. Superman. He catches the building in time, lifting it away before it kills thousands. The world looks up. Their hero is back. And then Mr. Terrific arrives, his voice urgent. The only code that can seal the crack is with Luthor. Before Superman can move, Hammer attacks. Angela lunges at Terrific, striking so hard he collapses unconscious. Now both Hammer and Angela turn on Superman. At first, he holds the upper hand. But Luthor tightens control over Hammer, forcing blow after blow. Angela joins in, striking Superman with a venomous attack. A toxic fluid spreads from her body into his, flooding his lungs. On Luthor's monitors, the readings spike. Superman is dying. Gasping for air, he rockets into the sky, desperate to expel the poison. But Angela and Hammer pursue him, relentless, tearing into him until the toxin takes over his body completely. Superman falters. His strength fades. He's seconds from death. And then he dives. A furious drop from the heavens, hitting the ground with such force it kills Angela instantly. Luthor screams in rage. The poison loses its grip. Superman forces it from his body, alive. But Hammer rises again. He removes his mask. Superman freezes. It's his own face staring back. A duplicate. The truth crashes in. This is how Luthor broke into the Fortress of Solitude. Hammer isn't just a weapon. He's a clone made from Superman's DNA. A strand of hair lost in an old battle, twisted into a living copy. And Luthor's cruelty doesn't stop there. They uncover his orders. Barovia's president was commanded to invade Choranpur, to slaughter its children. At that very moment, tanks roll in. The streets of Choranpur tremble under the weight of war. The people are seconds away from massacre. Above them, Hammer's eyes glow. Guided by Luthor, he unleashes a deadly beam straight at Superman. On the battlefield, Barovia's army unleashes fire on the people. Massacre begins. Superman's flag falls to the ground, a symbol of defeat. Hammer stands over him victorious. But in that final breath, Superman gathers everything he has left. He rises. A brutal strike. Hammer crashes down. This time, Superman wins. The Justice League has arrived. With them, Max, the man who once shared a cell with Superman. Together, they tear through the weapons and Barovia's army with ease. The president tries to flee, but Hawkgirl swoops down, seizes him, and ends it with a single deadly drop. Now Mr. Terrific leads Superman to Luthor's ship. The crack is consuming the planet. They must shut it down. Inside, Luthor seethes with hatred. You're not one of them. You're an alien. You'll never belong. Superman roars back. I feel, I fear, I love. I make mistakes. I'm no different from any human. As his words echo, Crypto leaps, tearing into Luthor. And in that chaos, Terrific seizes the chance. He shuts down the device. The crack collapses. The Earth is saved. News explodes worldwide. Lois and Jimmy expose Luthor's alliance with Barovia. His plot to destroy Superman, his lies, his crimes, broadcast everywhere. The world apologizes. The police arrive. Luthor is taken away in chains. In Choranpur, the people cheer the Justice League, their saviors. Max stands among them, a new ally. And finally, in the restored fortress of solitude, Superman finds peace. He watches his old memories, at last resting. And with that, our story ends. And third, The Little Mermaid. Once upon a time, a king and queen ruled deep beneath the ocean, with 6 beautiful princess daughters. The mermaids could swim anywhere they wanted in the sea, except the surface. But on each princess's 15th birthday, she was allowed to visit the surface, just for a single day. When the youngest princess, Elizabeth, turned 15, she finally rose to the surface for the first time. And there, she saw a grand royal ship. Suddenly, the prince aboard the ship fell into the sea. Without thinking, Elizabeth rushed to save him, pulling him safely to shore. She stayed beside him for a moment, but she couldn't stay on land for long, afraid he might wake, see her tail, and be frightened. In her heart, the little mermaid wished she could have legs, just like a human, so she could be with him. So she swam deep into the ocean to the lair of the evil sorcerer, Luke. He offered her a deal. He would give her human legs, and if the prince truly loved her, she could stay human forever. But if he didn't, her soul would belong to him, and he would control her for all eternity. Elizabeth agreed. When she returned to the prince's world, though, her heart sank because she saw him with another woman, thinking that this woman had been the one to save him, and he decided to marry her instead. Heartbroken, Elizabeth could only watch as the sorcerer claimed her soul forever. At that moment, the grandmother finished the tale. It had been a story she loved to tell her granddaughters, Lily and Jenny. Jenny's eyes grew wide. "Are mermaids real?" she asked. Her grandmother smiled softly. "Once there was a girl who believed in mermaids and fairies," she said. "Her name was Ella. Ella is a 10-year-old girl who lives with her uncle, Cam, after losing both her parents. She loves playing with her friends, but one day she suddenly falls very ill. It turns out Ella has a strange condition. She can't run or play like the other kids. Even the smallest effort leaves her so weak that she needs a long time to rest. Cam searches everywhere for a cure, But Ella, she believes there's another reason for her illness. She thinks she's a mermaid, sick because she's not living in the sea with her mermaid sisters. Of course, Cam just laughs at the idea. He gives her her medicine and reminds her mermaids don't exist. They're just fairy tale characters. We learn that Cam is actually a writer of fantasy stories. One day, his editor tells him about a rumor spreading in Mississippi about magical water that can cure any illness. People call it mermaid water because they believe anyone who drinks water a mermaid has swum in will be healed. The man who discovered it, a doctor named Luke. Intrigued by the story, Cam decides to investigate. And deep down, he can't help but hope the rumors are true, because this might just be the cure Ella has been waiting for. Soon after, Cam takes Ella and they head off to Mississippi. They stay at a relative's house, a kind woman named Lorraine. She shows them around and points to a treehouse in the garden. Ella's eyes light up. She insists on seeing it, and Cam goes with her, worried she might overdo it. While they explore, she spots a lake at the far end of the forest, and even a circus nearby. She begs Cam to take her there. Later, he meets Betty, a woman who says the magical water healed her. She couldn't walk before drinking it. Curious, Cam asks Betty to gather everyone who's been cured, so he can talk to them and write his report. That night, Cam takes Ella to the circus. She's overjoyed. It's her very first time. But what fascinates her most is the tent of a fortune teller named Tora. As soon as Ella steps inside, Tora takes her hand and tells her she carries the power of the ocean in her heart. She gives Ella a seashell necklace and warns Cam to watch over her. A dark force is closing in. Cam feels uneasy, but brushes it off. After all, he doesn't believe in magic. Later, they go to watch a magic show by a man named Luke, the same guy who claims he's a doctor. Luke promises to show a real magical mermaid. At first, the crowd doesn't believe him. Then, he brings out a huge tank, and inside, a mermaid appears. Ella is amazed. "I always knew mermaids were real," she says. Walking closer to the tank, completely mesmerized, Cam, though, tells her it's just a trick. Luke hears him, gets offended, and insists there's no trick. The mermaid is real. Then he throws Cam out. Cam leaves with Ella and later notices an ad for mermaid water. When he asks the vendor, the man says it's all sold out. Ella spots the big Ferris wheel and insists on riding it. Cam agrees, though he worries she might get too tired. While she's enjoying the ride, Cam notices a group of men harassing a young woman. He rushes over to help and realizes she's the same mermaid from the show. Before he can say anything, Luke appears, grabs the girl, and walks away. The next day, Cam heads to the church. There, he meets people claiming they were healed by the mermaid's magical water. He talks to Peachy, who says her leg used to hurt terribly and no treatment worked until she drank the water. Then, another man says that as soon as he drank it, his health improved. And finally, a bald man proudly tells Cam that after drinking the water, he even grew hair. That's when Cam realizes something's off. These people are under some kind of spell, and Luke is just tricking them to sell the water. He decides to confront him. At that moment, Luke is playing the piano. Cam asks him about the water, how he makes it. Luke just smiles and says, "No magician reveals his secrets." Cam keeps pressing, asking about the mermaid and the water, but when Luke sees that Cam doesn't believe in him or in magic at all, he throws him out. Now Cam is sure Luke is a fraud. Later, he goes for a walk with Ella, and they run into the mermaid. The moment Cam sees her, he says to Ella, "See? She's just a girl like you, no mermaid." But Ella insists that mermaids have legs like humans when they're away from the water. She goes over to meet her and learns her name is Elizabeth. Suddenly, Elizabeth gets nervous. She says she has to leave and hurries back to the circus because Luke has summoned her. When she arrives, she sees her friend Billy being beaten by Luke's assistant. Then, Luke appears and warns her. Every time she leaves without his permission, one of her friends will be punished. That's her consequence. Meanwhile, Cam walks past the circus and notices it's closed. He takes the chance and slips inside, determined to find out the secret of the mermaid and the magical water. Quietly, he makes his way to Luke's room. There, he overhears Luke talking to his assistant about a girl who has the exact same magical power as the mermaid. Luke orders him to bring her to him as soon as possible. Then, Luke walks to his piano, presses a few hidden keys, and reveals a secret compartment. Inside is a small box holding a glowing blue necklace. He makes sure it's still there and carefully hides it again. Just then, Cam hears a breathtaking voice singing nearby. He follows it to Elizabeth's tent and finds her singing. When she sees him, she quickly warns him to leave before Luke finds him there, saying Luke would hurt him if he did. Moments later, Luke walks in for real. He tells Cam he shouldn't be there and forces him out of the circus. Right after, Tora, Elizabeth's friend, approaches Cam. She warns him to stay away from Elizabeth because being near her puts her in danger. Cam asks why, but she just says, "You'll know everything in time." It's clear Elizabeth cares for Cam. And Tora is afraid Luke might discover this and hurt her. Later that night, Lauren takes Cam and Ella on a boat trip, saying they'll be amazed by the beauty of the ocean. But Cam isn't interested. He stays in his cabin, writing about the mysterious mermaid and the magical water. Then he suddenly feels like someone is watching him. Sure enough, Elizabeth is standing there quietly. She tells him she loves stories. Cam asks if she's really a mermaid, but she says she can't answer that. Then he asks about the magical water. She nods, saying magic is real, but what Luke does isn't. She admits she can't tell him more than that. Just then, Ella walks in, overjoyed to see Elizabeth. She grabs her hand, and the two start dancing together. While they dance, Piggy comes to Cam and quietly warns him, telling him he's right about Luke. Luke had cast a spell on her once, but it didn't work. She warns Cam to stay away from Luke and never let him get close to Ella, because Ella is special. Cam doesn't understand what she means, but before he can ask, the music pulls him in. He dances with Elizabeth, feeling happier than ever. Suddenly, Elizabeth takes his hand and pulls him outside, saying the moon has risen. They stand together, looking at its reflection on the water. But then, the waves grow stronger. Elizabeth realizes Luke is calling for her. Without a word, she runs from Cam and disappears. Cam searches everywhere, but she's gone. He assumes she must have jumped into the ocean, so he dives in after her. Cam is stunned when he sees Elizabeth's legs transform into shimmering fins. She darts through the water at incredible speed. He swims after her, following her all the way to an underwater cave. Sensing his presence, Elizabeth decides it's time to tell him the truth. She explains that Luke has been using her, tricking her into giving him part of her soul, which lets him control her. And that's not all. He's been selling the water she swims in as healing water. Because of the magic she carries, people feel better for a while after swimming in it. But when the magic fades, they return to how they were before. Cam urges her to escape, but Elizabeth tells him she can't. She's bound to Luke. Worse, if she even tried, Luke would hurt her friends, Billy and Tora. Cam promises he'll find a way to free her and her friends from Luke's grip. When he returns home, he finds Lauren in tears, asking where he's been. She tells him that Ella has disappeared. He rushes to Ella's room. She's gone. But on the floor, he spots a single feather. He remembers seeing one just like it on the hat of one of Luke's men. In that moment, Cam pieces it together. Luke must have taken Ella. Sure enough, Ella is locked in a cage, and right beside her, Elizabeth is imprisoned too. Luke arrives, telling Elizabeth he's going to take her power forever, meaning he plans to kill her. Then he turns to Ella, offering to make her a mermaid, but only if she makes a deal and accepts his terms. Ella refuses. Luke smirks and says he'll just put her back in the cage until she's ready to reconsider. A little later, Cam arrives and spots Ella locked inside the cage. He asks her where the keys are, and she tells him. He quickly grabs them, unlocks the door, and tells her to run with Tora while he goes to rescue Elizabeth. But Tora warns him. Elizabeth can't leave without her soul. Luke has hidden it somewhere. That's when Cam remembers the small box he once saw Luke stash inside the piano. He hurries over, pulls out the box, and finds a glass vial glowing with blue light. The vessel holding Elizabeth's soul. Tora casts a spell that freezes everyone in place, including Luke. It's only temporary, just long enough for Cam to burst into the show, pull Elizabeth out of the tank, and escape with her. Minutes later, the spell wears off. Luke realizes Elizabeth is gone. He rushes to check the vial, but it's missing. Furious, he orders his henchmen to search for it. Meanwhile, Cam, Ella, Elizabeth, Billy, and Tora race to the train station. They keep running until they make it on board. Ella, exhausted, takes the medicine Cam gives her. Then Cam pulls out the glowing vial and hands it to Elizabeth, who thanks him for everything he's done. But suddenly, the train screeches to a stop. Luke is using magic to hold it. Billy fights off Luke's men, giving everyone a chance to escape. Tora uses her magic to start an abandoned car, and they all pile in, speeding toward the forest. Ella grows weaker, and Cam realizes they left the medicine back on the train. He's ready to turn back, but Ella tells him she's fine. Their priority is to get Elizabeth to the ocean as quickly as possible, so they keep going. But Luke and his men were closing in. That's when Billy decided to step forward, face them, and hold them off so the others could escape. He managed to overpower Luke's assistant. At that moment, Elizabeth suddenly transformed into a mermaid under Luke's magic. The change left her weak. Without her human form, she couldn't survive on land for long. Then their car broke down. Tora quickly decided to confront Luke herself, telling Cam to carry Elizabeth through the forest. At the end of the forest, he would find the lake. Cam lifted Elizabeth and ran, while Tora stayed behind to fight. But Luke's magical power was far greater than hers, and she couldn't hold him off for long. Luke eventually reached the lake and told Elizabeth she would die, and that her power would belong to him forever. When Cam tried to stop him, Luke struck him with his magic. That's when Elizabeth, Ella, and Tora decided to fight together. The three of them cast a spell, and, united, they finally defeated Luke. Cam regained consciousness, rushed to Elizabeth and carried her to the lake. There, she recovered the missing part of her soul and returned to her true form. As for Ella, she discovered her cure was swimming. And we learned that Elizabeth and Cam shared an extraordinary love story, one between a man and a mermaid, living their lives between the sea and the shore. And with that, the grandmother ended her story for the children. In the final moment, Jeannie asked her grandmother about Ella, and to everyone's surprise, the grandmother herself was Ella. And so, the story came to an end.